Hello, hello, hello. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, everyone. This is Jeff from Fluent American, and this is also the Schwa Mill, our Saturday live stream, where at this time, every single week, we take a look at your American English pronunciation. What you can do is you can send us files, and then we can give you some suggestions on ways to sound even more natural in American English pronunciation. First file.
Do you know what the score was for last night's game?
Do you know what the score was? I think from a grammar point of view, I think the more common way to actually ask this question would actually be with do you know? Do you know what the score was? Instead, do you know? Like, did you? I feel like the present would be more common, especially if it's like last night. Last night. Um, a lot of times, like if you ask, like, did you know? That's more of like a kind of like something you don't actually expect the other person to know. Like, did you know that this person did this? Like, did you know that? Whereas like, do you know is more like a general situation. Like, do you know this? Yes or no? I'm not sure. So just a note there. But pronunciation wise,
Do you know what the score was for last night's game?
I'm not in love with the pattern used for this in terms of the pronunciation. I'll be honest. Score was okay. So one of the things I think is happening is that score was. Um, so you're putting the emphasis on was as opposed to the score. So I think that's the very first thing I'm going to say is that I would probably shift the stress onto score. So instead of score was, more score was. I would do more score was. Do you know what the score was? Do you know what the score was? Do you know what the score was? Is the score was more score was? I think that's something that would help. I also wouldn't drag out was score was. We can't really hold that, right?
The score was?
Score was for score was. Do you know what the score was? You know what the score was? So I'll go pretty fast on score as well. I mean on was. Because like like that sort of repetition you don't hear a whole lot. That pattern's not very common in American English.
I don't have anyone to walk with. Do you want me to come with you? Well, it'll be easier if I fix my car.
Anyone to walk with? I think that in general that sounds fine. I just want to talk about another option. Again, you don't have to do this. It's just an option that you could have with this is anyone to anyone to. You could do like anyone the. So a lot of times when you have anyone, it's like you have that N sound, which is very vocalized in anyone, and then you have that T followed by another vowel. So a very common situation is that for this file, like anyone, because that T is again surrounded by very vocalized sounds, it's very common for that to get almost like a fast D flap T sound. It's like anyone to walk with. So instead anyone to, you could do anyone. Just note there
I don't have anyone to walk with.
because right now your T sounds a little strong. Anyone to walk with, and that's perfectly fine. There's nothing wrong with that. Just want to talk again about another option that you will hear. I want to say a quick hello to Edward checking in once more. Great to see you back, Edward. And Denny, Ben Torlato. How's it going, man? I did hydrate. It's happening. I promise. I am hydrating. Promise, promise, promise. Okay. I like your breath. You're getting a lot of breath through, which is great. Anyone to walk with?
Do you want me to come with you?
Do you want me? Do you want me? Cool. I like your raised how you raised the pitch there. Very natural
Walk
sounding.
with.
Come with you. Come with you. Come with you. So I was actually talking with, I believe it was with Sycamore about this. About with. A lot of people when they're pronouncing, when I say a lot of people, I mean a lot of people who learned English pronounce with the preposition with a voiced th, doing a lot of with, which is okay in the right situation. But I think the more, if you look up a transcription of with, it's voiceless. It's a voiceless sound. It's not really with. It's with. Now there may be some situations with linking and things like that where you can make it a voiced sound. It's like with the like if you have a with paired with the or link it with a voice sound. I think that's certainly an option where you could um, talk about trying to make it more of a voice sound. But I think in general, what you're going to see is that, and with is going to be more voiceless. So I would recommend like here making it voiceless as well.
Do you want me to come with you?
So with you, more with you. Wants to come with you. Come with you. I do feel like with you have a e sound, like with, come with you,
Do you want me to come with you?
come with you, come with you, versus come with you, come with you. You want me to come with you? That's how I would say that. So watch out again for that e sound on with, and also watch out for that th. I would make it voiceless. But I will say, and my mom actually noted this as well, I really like the emphasis, I like your stress words, I like your pitch and your tone. Those are, I would agree that those are very natural sounding. So everything I mentioned is kind of more nitpicky. Okay, so everything you've done to this moment before well, I really like what I've heard. I think you're using some really natural patterns. I think everything's coming in really clearly. There's a lot of emotion. It's very expressive. Listen again to that first half.
I don't have anyone to walk with.
I don't have anyone to
Do
walk
you
with.
want me to
Great.
come with you?
You want me to come with you? Come with you? You know, I like that. But then
Well, it'll be easier if I fix my car.
we lose a lot of the same things I think are really working well in that first half. They kind of just disappear in the second half.
Do you want me to come with you? Well, it'll be easier if
It'll be easier. I would have stressed easier. I would have gone higher pitched on that. I would have made that my emphasis. It'll be easier. Well, it'll be easier. It's a, it'll be easier. It'll be, because right now your stress is actually probably it. It'll be easier in it. Like that's a, that is so rarely your stressed word.
Do you want me to come with you? Well, it'll be easier if
It'll be easier. So you also have falling intonation on easier. So I would have stressed that, raising the pitch higher and using rising intonation. It'll be easier
I fix my car.
if I fix my car. So you have this conditional, right? You have an if conditional, you have a real conditional, your first one. And so, conditionals, you can have multiple stresses. You would expect, in fact, in your if clause to there to be a stress. And then in whatever clause comes after that, the consequence, that should also have a stress. So your first stress, again, I suggest would be easier. And your second stress, car. It'll be easier if I fix my car. Well, it'll be easier if I fix my car. Or another option you could do too is like a fall rise. Car. Well, it'll be easier if I fix my car. And that means that you haven't fixed your car, but it will be easier if that happens. So that's something to also consider there. It'll be easier if I fix my car, or it'll be easier if I fix my car. Edward makes the note in have to, the sound v becomes f. Therefore, the phrase is pronounced as have to. Have to. I think, in all honesty, instead of even saying the phrase is pronounced have to, I think a lot of times it's pronounced as have to. Have to. In fact, if you guys ever see like how like teenagers text and things like that, or how people write or like transcribe or like shorten phrases, sometimes you'll see people write have to as this. They'll say like have to, like I have to go, and things like that. That's probably more accurately. I can't even pronounce accurately. I'm not accurately pronouncing accurately. That's how a lot of people pronounce have to. It becomes have to. I have to. And make sure when you say have to that last syllable is really a schwa. So it's not ta, have ta. It's have to, like in was or fun. All right. I think we got a lot of notes about that file. I'm going to take a real quick water break, but don't forget. Like what you're hearing? Let us know by liking and subscribing.
Question.
Emmanuel asks me, can I say that's the thing 3 times? What sounds should we watch out for? That's the thing. That's the thing. That's the thing. So what I would say is, that's the thing. That's the thing. That's the thing. So what I would say there is that for that's the thing. That's the thing. Keep in mind, asking about what sound we pay attention to. Well, your stressed word is always the word that you want to make sure comes out the clearest. So for that's the thing. And it does depend on what you're emphasizing here, but in general, for this sentence, thing is the word that gets stressed. So you really want thing to stand out, like thing, thing, thing. That's the thing. That's the thing. That's the thing. There's other ways to say, or other things you also want to be considering for that as well. For instance, you could say that phrase with the tip of my tongue, or I can say it with the tip of my tongue down against my bottom tooth the entire time. So like, that's the thing. 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 I'm not really ever saying that's the thing with the tip of my tongue pressed up here or against the top of my mouth on the ridge. It's always midpoint or lower. So that's something I would consider for that phrase, because I think if you go with those higher positions, it's going to make it a little choppy. You're like, that's the thing. That's the thing. Then he mentions that they have water too. Echo. Echo. And hello also to PropJet chucking in. Send us a file if you're feeling brave enough for today. Or if you just want to lurk, that's cool too. But thanks for saying hello. Great to see you back. My mom asked, don't you think that that's the thing? Thing is dropped to lower pitch. I think it depends on what you're stressing. I was stressing thing. Like, that's the thing. That's the thing. That's the thing. But if you're stressing that's the thing. That's the thing. That's the thing. Then I think that in that case, that's will be higher. Edward notes that the TH sound is dropped in that's the thing. 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 It's certainly weakened and reduced. In fact, we talk about in one of the recent videos, I think it's the linking video, which is part of our, again, not Mission English, it's part of our 30-day challenge. Again, happy Novemglish, everyone. We're doing our 30-day challenge. Look up if you're interested in TH reductions or TH removals to link sounds together. This is a great example of that sentence. Take a look at our linking video. It talks about that exact situation. That's a great question there.
When the going gets tough, the tough get going.
So going gets tough, the tough get going. Going gets tough, tough gets going. So one thing I'm already hearing from this file is that there seems to be repetition of the pattern in terms of stresses. Like, oh, so if I stress that one word in the first part, then I want to stress the same word or the same type of word, like a part of speech, in the second part. But I think the reality is in American English that you kind of don't want that to happen. If I stress the noun in the first one, maybe I'll stress the verb in the second one and things like that. We want to kind of mix it up more. So let me play that again. Thanks to my mom for saying that she can hear that.
When the going gets tough,
When the going gets tough, so you stress tough.
the tough get going.
The tough get going. So you stress tough again. Going gets tough. The tough get going. So it is slightly different, right? In terms of first one, adjective, the second one, noun. But the reality is you're stressing the same word, like tough, tough. When it's tough, the tough get going. When it's tough, the tough get going. I would have expected in this phrase, going, the last going, to get stressed instead of tough. And you guys, this is a common expression. You could put this into English and you could see what you hear. But I would again recommend when the going gets tough, the tough get going. I think that's going to be a more common pattern. So stress first tough, I'm okay with that. But then on going, I would I'll put the emphasis there. Besides that,
When the going gets tough,
when the going gets tough. Also, Doa letting us know it's her first time here. That's perfect. If you, again, want to send us a pronunciation file, we would love to listen to you and give some suggestions. That's something that you're interested in. Though I think you can get plenty of feedback just by kind of hearing other people and getting us an idea of the feedback I'm giving for them too. So you don't need to send in your own files to get suggestions. Play that again.
when the going gets tough, the tough.
It's tough. I like your when I like your schwa sounds, and I know that sometimes in previous files we've talked about schwas a lot. Sometimes these are turning into like sounds, and I think we're, for the most part, really avoiding that here. And I think that sounds great. When the going gets tough, what you don't want to hear is tough. It's not tough. When the going gets tough, no, it's when the going gets tough.
When the going gets tough,
Going gets tough. Also, like your movement, going gets tough. So like that goes at a lower pitch. So like here, then dropped, and up again. Going gets tough. Going gets tough.
the tough get going.
Tough get going. Versus the tough get going.
Stuff, the tough get going.
Yes, that'd be my big suggestion there. The tough get going. Tough get going. And you can hear that difference in rhythm when I play that again. My mom notes that she loves the way that both parts of the sentence are connected, even though there's a short pause with the comma. Yeah, you don't necessarily have to have a super long pause there, though it's not necessarily wrong. It's okay to have pauses, but that is something that always I want you to be paying attention to. Sometimes people are having longer pauses than they need.
My number one thing, don't over-leverage yourself. Don't say you can do something when you really can't.
Okay. For the most part, pretty clear stresses, though there's one stress I do want to kind of mention a little bit, which we'll talk about.
My number one thing,
My number one thing. My number one thing. Interesting, because I probably would have, if it were me, would I stress thing? My number one thing. My number one thing. That's probably the way I would have said it personally. My number one thing. My number one thing. Yeah, I probably personally would have put the stress on one, but then he makes the note that this is a quote from Matthew McConaughey. Okay. So take everything I say with a grain of salt. This is just how I personally would have done it. Oh, look at that. Arouse in the house. It's been a while. Welcome back. Send us a file if you're up to it, but great to see you again in the stream. Been a minute. So that's just again how I would have done it. I want to hear thing again.
My number one thing.
Do you hear that like at the end of thing?
My number one thing.
Think. That's something that I want everyone to kind of watch out for with NG sounds, is that it's very easy to add like a k sound for it. But really, when you see the letters NG, it's not really making a like a k, k, k. That might mean that you're pressing the back of your tongue a little too high. It's more thing. It's not thing, thing. Just like practice holding that, like thing. Okay, so again, back of your tongue high, front of your tongue down, but don't get a k sound out of it. The minute you hear any sort of clicking or like k or anything like that, that's a sign that it's not quite an NG. Don't over leverage yourself. My mom knows that she likes leverage and over leverage there. The only thing I would say is it's kind of getting lost.
Number one thing. Don't over leverage yourself.
Don't over leverage yourself. I would have increased the variety of pitches. Okay. Don't over leverage yourself. Don't over leverage. So leverage, over leverage. Your stress is on the lev. So that part really needs to go higher, because right now it's kind of getting lost a little bit. Don't over leverage. Don't over
leverage yourself.
Don't over leverage. Don't over leverage.
Don't over leverage yourself.
Don't over leverage. So it's slightly stressed, but I need more. Don't over leverage. My number one thing, don't over leverage yourself. Don't over leverage yourself. That's how I would have said that compared this to the original.
One thing. Don't over leverage yourself.
Also on the over leverage yourself. So like you're giving me like maybe like 2 pitches, like maybe 2.5. Can you give me like 4 or 5? Don't over leverage yourself. Don't over leverage yourself. And this is a common enough situation, like my suggestion or mi raccomando, and then you give your suggestion, right? Don't do this. Like, go do this. Don't think that. Don't run away. Like things like that. This is the kind of the pattern that you give for like those sorts of suggestions. So I think that
One thing, don't over leverage yourself.
this is just too flat. And you want yourself to really, that self needs to be really low. Don't over leverage yourself.
Don't over leverage yourself. Don't say you can do something when
That second half already we're getting a lot more pitch movement, which is great.
don't say you can do something when
Don't say you can do something. Don't say you can do something. Okay. And again, Denny, like listen again to the original quote from him if you had the audio file, it wasn't just text. So that way you can compare, because some of the things I'm saying might not apply to what he was doing. And if you were shadowing him, there's always a chance that what I'm saying doesn't really apply. I can only give you my own thoughts because I haven't heard the original. Edward, I see your question. I'll be there in a moment. I like your stress there. The only thing is there, it sounds a little closed off on do. It's not do, it's more do. Don't say you can do. Don't say you can do. Don't say you can do.
don't say you can do something.
Do. Don't say you can do versus don't say you can do.
Don't say you can do something when it
Just do something. So I would practice saying that. Do something. Do something. Do something.
do something when it really can't.
When you really can't. Can't should have been stressed.
Something when it really can't.
When you really can't. When you really can't. Sentences, that pattern that you're ending on for can't, you're almost never going to hear that in American English.
Do something when it really can't.
When you really can't. That's kind of an awkward way to end a sentence. You're not really going to hear that pitch. You're not really going to hear that can't. You're going to hear something that's lower. You're going to hear something that's higher, but not kind of like this weird kind of midpoint. See, it's great to have something like Nov English. Yeah, it is. Happy Novenglish, everyone. In case you're watching this for the first time, maybe you've never even seen me. If you've never seen me before and you're just like wondering, who is this guy? What's happening? I'm sure let me know in the chat. But Novenglish, we're doing a 30-day accent challenge. One video every single day for the month of November. In fact, you can, if you want to join in on the fun, you want to do a 30-day challenge. From your perspective, I hope it's not too difficult. It's one video a day. These videos, you can see it here on the channel page. Even have a little playlist tab right underneath. So you can see all our videos that we have so far. Okay. So one video a day takes about 2 to 3 minutes of your time. And it gives you a new concept of American English so that by the end of the 30 days, you will know what exactly you need to study, in what order you need to study it to get a natural pronunciation. Okay. Relatively the order. Question 2 are leverage, library, and secretary pronounced 4-syllable words or 3-syllable words in ME. Okay. Oh, and Denny makes a note too. He didn't find any videos of him saying it. It was just text. Got you. Yeah. That's always hard when it's just text. It's always hard when it's just text. But going back to Edward's question, great one. Or leverage. Leverage will have with 2 syllables. Leverage. Leverage. Okay. Leverage. Same thing as like average, several. I mean, there's so many words with dropped syllables. But yeah, that's the first one done. Secretary. Secretary. 4 syllables. I would say that's 4. Secretary. And library. 3 syllables. Library. How would that become shortened? Like library? Do people say it library? I went to the library. No, you really kind of need the air library. I've never heard it pronounced as library, but there may be some regional accents perhaps that do it that way.
Far off when on my couch I lie in vacant on a pensive room they flash up in the word and I, which is the bliss of solitude, and then my heart with pleasure fills and dances with daffodils.
You will recognize the daffodils part. So we got some poetry in the house. We love poetry here. I don't know if you guys can see it, but in the back, it's a little blurry. But those books you see on my wall back there are all poetry books. Anyways, so for this file,
Far off when on my couch I lie in.
I'm gonna have to just break this into smaller parts. That part I thought sounded pretty good. Oft is not a common word, short for often.
Far off when on my couch I lie in.
When on my couch, I like one thing too. So like this, what you're going to notice about this poem is, Wordsworth is a poet who's using meter, which means there's a very regular pattern. Like for oft, when on my couch I lie in vacant or in pensive mood. So he's using that sort of movement. That's called an I am. So if you notice that the pattern feels very regular, that's what's happening there.
Far off when on my couch I lie in.
I like those. I think those sounds are really clear.
Vacant on a pensive room they
I didn't really hear mood there.
lie in vacant on a pensive room they
Um,
vacant on a pensive room they
I feel like I'm hearing room instead of mood. So no, I would listen to that again. Pensive mood.
flash up in the word and I, which
Let me hear the next part.
up in the word and I, which is the vacant on a pensive room they flash up in the word and I.
Again, that inward eye. I feel like I heard something different again. It's like that inward eye. They flash upon that inward eye.
The room they flash up in the word and I, which is the bliss of solitude and
Which is the bliss of solitude.
which is the bliss of solitude and
Solitude. One thing is, again, it's hard with like a poem like this that's written in meter, because it's very easy to get kind of lulled into the trance and kind of like just the regular pattern. But really, solitude should have the stress on sol, not on tude. So it's not solitude, it's solitude.
which is the bliss of solitude, and then my heart with pleasure fills it.
We hear pleasure again.
And then my heart with pleasure fills it.
Pleasure. You could just held that vowel just a little longer on pleasure. Just a note.
Then my heart with pleasure fills and dances with daffodils.
And we chopped off the dances with daffodils.
Heart with pleasure fills and dances with daffodils.
And again, just a little stress thing. So again, you shifted to stress. Stress for daffodils will actually be on daffodils, which are a type of flower. Um,
With pleasure, Frozen dances with daffodils.
yeah, lots of besides those little stress things I mentioned. Again, kind of tricky. It's hard to talk about stress and intonation here just because of the poem. One thing when you're reading poetry is you don't necessarily have to kind of constrain yourself to lines. You can keep going. Even if a line ends, you can still keep moving. You could say like for oft, when on my couch I lie in vacant or in pensive mood, they flash upon that inward eye which is the bliss of solitude. And then my heart with pleasure fills and dances with the daffodils. You can read it like that. You don't have to be confined to the rhythm and that the poem has. It's okay to break from it. Just a note. But some things I liked. I like your short. I like your dark L sounds. Like for instance, we see it on daffodils, dills. That sound there. Same with like fills as well. Lots of breath is coming through. I heard down your R sounds as well. So I would say the big thing is just kind of pay attention to those stresses. Experiment saying the poem without so much reliance on the rhyme and in the meter that they have.